Halyna Hutchins was a very talented cinematographer. She was working her way up in the movie business. She was also raising a family with her husband. The future was bright. She was hired as the director of photography for an independent film entitled Rust, starring Alec Baldwin. It was a Western being filmed in New Mexico. One day, while rehearsing a scene with Baldwin drawing his weapon, Baldwin's gun went off. The bullet struck Halyna and killed her. The criminal investigation is still ongoing. Tonight, we take a listen to the statements made by Baldwin and get reaction from actor John Schneider, who has handled weapons on sets for many years, dating all the way back to Dukes of Hazzard. We also get reaction from other movie insiders, firearm experts, and criminal lawyers as we ask the question, who should be held responsible for the shooting death of Halyna Hutchins? I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight on Closing Arguments. And we are going to take an hour to take a really close look at what happened to Halyna Hutchins. Now, we know she shouldn't have died, but should someone be held criminally responsible? What are the normal protocols? What went wrong here? What is Alec Baldwin saying? All of that we're going to deal with this hour and try to answer the question at the end of the hour. You know, who should be held responsible for the shooting death of Halyna Hutchins? Now, do you remember Kim Potter? Kim Potter, police officer out in Minnesota. She was held responsible for a criminal accident. She shot and killed Dante Wright. Didn't do it on purpose. Didn't mean to do it. Didn't intend to do it. Last thing in the world she wanted to do. But she did do it. This is the officer who pulled her service weapon when she thought she had pulled her taser. We saw the video of her going, taser, 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 and then she fires the weapon. But it's not a taser. And she shoots and kills a young man. And it was an accident. She did not intend to kill him, intended to use her taser on him, but she didn't have the taser in her hand. And she was held responsible. It was an accident, but it was criminal. It was criminal. Now, a big part of what made her responsible were the protocols, the training protocols that she had, that she didn't follow. She's a police officer. She's been an officer for years. She knows what she is supposed to do, where the weapon is kept, how she is supposed to draw it, when she is supposed to draw it, and she should know from her training and experience the difference between a taser and a service weapon. You know, all these things, come into play in determining whether or not she was criminally responsible. And at the end of the day, prosecutors believed that she was criminally responsible, and the jury agreed. Now, let's talk about Alec Baldwin, Halyna Hutchins. From all we know at this point, it seems pretty clear this was an accident, right? Alec Baldwin had no intention of shooting and killing Halyna Hutchins, had no reason to do it, and didn't do it. I don't think anyone believes that he did this on purpose, that he purposely killed her, that he purposely shot her with a live round. Yet it's an accident. But is it an accident that rises to the level of being a crime? Is it so egregious? Is there a lack of following the protocols of what's supposed to take place on a movie set? Were these protocols followed? Now, I've got to believe the answer to that is a resounding no, because there are no protocols that could be followed that would result in the shooting death of your director of photography for a movie. That'd be insane if you did everything right and she still got shot and killed. So obviously some protocols were not followed here. But what are they? What are the norms? And what are the protocols for an actor, the one handling the weapon, as well as the protocols for the people who are supposed to provide the weapon, load the weapon, check the weapon? All of that is significant here, because ultimately, at the end of the day, you got to figure out, is this a crime? Is someone going to be charged with a crime and perhaps end up in jail for what happened to Halyna Hutchins? It's a significant question, important question. Now, there is video of Alec Baldwin with the weapon. This was recorded, though, prior to the shooting, because the actual shooting was not recorded. You can see he's drawing the weapon. He's doing something with his thumb. You see his fingers on the trigger. He's shooting a scene for the movie. Now, again, this is not the actual shooting of Halyna Hutchins, but it's in the same place. It's the same scene. And this was filmed just prior to the rehearsal where Halyna Hutchins was shot and killed by Alec Baldwin. Now, Alec Baldwin, as you know, has spoken with police. He's spoken with law enforcement, spoken with investigators. Let's take a listen to part of that interview.
I take the gun out, and as I take it, as it clears, as the barrel clears, I turn and cock the gun over here. I turn and cock the gun goes off. It's supposed to be a cold gun. Nothing. No flash charges, nothing. Now, this is a puzzle to me. And this is making me very emotional now, but in my time, and I'm older now, but when I was younger and I was shooting guns and stuff, I've never seen a theatrical flash round with the material went through someone's armpit, came out their body, and hit somebody else in the shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if your department is prepared to go find out what comes out of his shoulder surgically. Is that a live round?
That's what we are actually looking at.
Is that a lot? Because it doesn't make any sense otherwise.
Yeah.
It hits her in the armpit, comes out her shoulder, goes into his shoulder, and he just told me on the phone, I talked to Joel. He said, they showed me the x-ray, and the shape of the thing in my shoulder is the shape of a bullet. Now, all the rounds, I was told, you need to verify, that this is an important note, they take the gun, they enter and all the rounds that are in there were either dummy rounds, no flash, cold rounds, or rounds with a flash. In the rehearsal, there should have been nothing. It should have been a cold gun with no rounds inside or dummy rounds, cosmetic rounds, no flash.
Okay, joining me now in New York, film director with Rosso Films International, currently working on a World War II movie called Subject A. Stefano DeFrey is with us tonight. Great to see you. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, movie set expert, technical director, former Salt Lake City police officer, knows a lot about guns. Rob Joseph is with us. Welcome to you both. Thank you so much for being here. Stefano, let me start with you. Let me ask you about Alec Baldwin and what he's saying. He seems shocked. He seems completely like, what happened here? Is it normal, from your experience, that when an actor is handed a weapon, is that weapon checked in front of the actor, him or herself? Or is that done somewhere else and you just hand a gun and you say, here's a cold gun, go for it?
Thank you for having me on your show. So I like the lead-in that you said. Did Alec Baldwin violate the protocols that were on set? The protocols would be that you would have the props master hand the gun to the armor. The armor would then check it, obviously, and be the specialist for guns, and then hand it over to the assistant director. The assistant director has to call for a cold gun. Rarely would an actor want to fiddle with it. They wouldn't want to mess with that gun, and they would trust the line of command, the sequencing of command, so that they would be ready to, carry on their job, do the take, and, start rolling. So Alec Baldwin's case seems very, very plausible in his testimony. Now, it's obvious that the protocols were not followed. Was it a situation where they didn't actually have someone check it through either the props master or the armor? Was the cold gun called too early in anticipation, so that 3 people actually haven't checked the gun or don't know anything or have any experience with firearms, so they're just calling cold gun just for the sake of beginning the shooting? And by that I mean the filming of the scene. So we have to ask these questions. The second
let me
question
ask
that
you
I
this
wanna
though,
bring up
Stefano. Let me jump in there, because this was just a rehearsal. They weren't even filming anything at this moment. They were sort of like blocking it and rehearsing the draw of the weapon. So under those circumstances, would you use the actual gun that you're going to use to be filmed during the rehearsal part?
On my sets, you wouldn't. On my sets, you wouldn't. Why? Because the liability is too high. It's just too high. Why would you risk that situation in the rehearsal process? You would only take out that for the actual the filming of it, because the risk, as we know, and we know this back from Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee's son, in a very famous case in Hollywood from The Crow, when he was killed from a projectile. So, and that was ruled as an accident. So the liability for our sets as a director and producer, absolutely not. The other thing that I want to ask to everybody here is, was 20 feet respected? Because on our film sets, we always have, even if you have blanks, you have to respect at minimum of 20 feet of a clear line of fire, because we know that some weapons give powder and also compress. So was that violated and respected from Alec Baldwin's side as well, whether it was a mistake or not a mistake? These are all things that are very important questions to ask.
All right, Rob Joseph, let me ask you, cold gun. Someone hands you a gun, says cold gun. Should you trust them?
Absolutely not. It becomes the handler of the weapon responsibility at that point to ensure that the gun is in fact cold and not loaded. And I like protocols that I used on the set, even in two Baldwin movies. I actually worked on The Crow's Salvation. Actually, assistant directors or directors never touched the firearm at all. It went straight from the property master to the armorer, and I was brought on set, would inspect the gun in the presence of the actor, show the actor themselves that the weapon was clear.
So
and
wait,
able to be used.
Rob, stop right there. Explain to me that scenario that you did where you are checking the gun in front of the actor. So how does that happen? And where do you do that?
Well, when the director calls for a firearm to be brought to the set, the property master would bring the weapon to the set, and in conjunction with the property master, in my case, as I worked on those sets, the property master would deliver the gun to the armorer, and the armorer and I would both check the weapon, and we would do it in the presence of the actor or actress, and we would show them that the weapon was clear. So there was no question as to whether or not that weapon was safe. And then we'd also give instruction to the actor on what to do and how to handle the weapon safely. And this would happen every single time the weapon was called to be brought to the set.
Stefano, let me ask you about the actors working on your movies. Is there any level of training that is given to the actors about, some actors may very well be well-versed in handling a gun. They may actually be gun owners. Some may never have touched a weapon before. Is there any training, safety training, in how to handle it, or training in how to handle it so it looks like you know what you're doing? Handle it. Does that take place?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. During the pre-production process, we'll have an armorer that will meet with the actors that are handling the gun. So it's extremely important that they feel comfortable as well being handling this item and the firearm. So if they're not comfortable, they are more likely to make mistakes. The more comfortable they are, they know what protocols to follow, and also to make sure that, for example, not pointing it at a crew is a very simple thing, but not pointing it at crew, not pointing it at other crew members. Making sure that they're comfortable with, that they know what's inside before they start rolling for a tape.
Stefano, let me ask you this though. You just said something that like struck a chord here.
Yeah.
About pointing the weapon. Now, from my understanding, we've looked at this video that was filmed right before the shooting in another rehearsal of the scene where he does the cross draw, and it seems that for purposes of this movie, the gun had to be pointed somewhat towards the camera. And you've got a director of photography, I'd assume in most films, is usually near the camera. So how do you deal with that? Because it wouldn't be the first time, I think, that we've ever seen a gun pointed towards a camera in that direction. And as we know, you're making a movie, the person who's in charge of the camera is going to be near the camera. So how do we deal with that situation?
There's two ways that I deal with it on our film sets. The first is you don't use the actual gun for your rehearsals. I would never do that, even though I would have the armor present during that time. That's the first thing. The armor's present during the whole period of time, but I would not have the actual gun being used during that rehearsal. The second thing is, no matter how much you want to get that shot, and now you're shooting on 6K, 8K, you have to maintain the 20 feet distance. You have to maintain the 20 feet distance. When I'm looking at that footage, I don't know, when I'm seeing Alec Baldwin pull out that revolver, he looks closer than that 20 feet. And so the person that's the most vulnerable is obviously the cinematographer, because she's holding the camera, she's managing the camera, and you can see, that looks like a lot closer than 20 feet. So for us, for the safety of the crew, for the entire set, you can crop in post-production. I would never have that closer and violate that 20-foot rule.
All right, we've got a lot more to get to this hour, folks. Don't go anywhere. We're taking a close look at the shooting death of Halyna Hutchins, trying to figure out what happened, why did it happen, what were the protocols, what should the protocols have been, what are people saying, and at the end of the hour, who should be held responsible? We'll be right back.